Yeah, I seem to be the only idiot that is capable of trying to shoot a video and keep turning off the camera. And what we've had this summer is a very, hang on, let me open the curtains a bit more. It's a very, very, very poor August. It's now the middle of August and it's rained every single day apart from 2 afternoons, I think. And there was a lady talking about her special interest as an Asperger's person. One interest I got is amateur radio. The other one I started doing when I was younger is archaeology, paleontology, and I got into photography. And today I was going to introduce you to a camera I bought on eBay. So what we'll do is we'll take that cup away and we'll do a video, but I might have to zoom in during the video. I might have to get up out my chair. This is a camera I bought off eBay, and the guy said it had done 250 pictures from you. It's made in 2004. It's an SLR. That's the telephoto lens. That's the kit lens for it. And this is the lens, the body. It's not stabilised, it's too old for that. And it takes compact flash cards. And I thought what I'd do is, the video is going to be a bit funny because with that camera, dark room, you're not going to see many details, but I'll do it anyway. This camera there was the second SLR, full SLR Olympus ever made. Olympus made their first SLR with a fixed lens, you couldn't take it off. That was the E10 and E20p. Then they bought a professional one called the E1, or the Evo E1. The next one that came out, the second true SLR, was this one. It was called the E-300 in Europe, UK. In America, it was called the E-Volt 300. I don't know what they call it, E-Volt. I don't know what is an E-Volt, but never mind. This one was their, believe the E1 and this one was their first foray into 4/3 sensor size. That means they said the numbers backwards, 3/4. It means it's basically 3/4 the size of a 35mm film. And if you notice, this has not got hump on top for the viewfinder prism, because it doesn't use a prism. It uses a set of mirrors on the side here that go this way, and it goes up to the viewfinder on the back. And so it works on mirrors, it doesn't work on a prism. So I might be able to zoom in on that in a minute. It came with this lens, which says 14 to 45, and it goes on a 35mm, I think it's 28 to 90 or something like that. And this came with the lens cap, the lens hood. And I'm going to be honest with you, there's not a mark on this lens at all. After all, the camera's only taken 230 pictures from new. It was obviously a demo model. It could have been an old person's camera, they never used it. It could be that it was in a display case. Now it came to me, the guy said there was no box. So that makes me think that it was a display model. And the box maybe got damaged or thrown away. These lenses are f3.5, is it? To 5.6. So it's not a very fast lens. And that's him. Just let you look, nice bit of Olympus glass. It's a Zucchio lens. Zucchio lens is made about the best lenses in the world. It doesn't have an ED element because these were the cheaper ones, but they actually, I've taken a couple of shots with them in this camera and it seems okay. This telephoto lens came off eBay as well. It didn't come with that lens hood. That lens hood was £15 or something, and it is the original. Now I saw that lens hood on eBay and I said to the guy, he said, are some I got here, but they've got a few marks on them. And I said, well, the lens is almost new, so I want a new one. And he said, I'll send you the best one but they're all sort of in bags. This one's come, there's not a scratch on it, not even a fingerprint on it. So basically it's a brand new lens hood. And this camera's a 40 to 150mm. In 35mm terms, that would be, no, I believe 90 to 300. Now this lens came from a camera shop, is used, again, no dust or anything on it, and I don't think it's had any use. And if I undo the cap there, there's not even any dust on the front element, there's nothing. And there's no dust in the filter threads or the bayonet mount on the front. Now usually that's what's going to get worn and dusty if it's being used. If that is clean, this little ridge here is probably unused. You have a look at it. If there's any scuffing or any marks, circular marks where the hood's come on and off, there isn't. So I would imagine this lens was bought, somebody put it on the camera to try it, who owns a camera, and said, I never used that lens, I bought it, I've used it once, so I'll sell it. And that's not image stabilised lens, neither is the camera, but you can get those in image stabilisation, because the early SLRs, it was stabilised in the lens, the camera wasn't stabilised. In fact, even the Nikons now are not stabilised, the lenses are. So I could buy a lens mount and buy some different lenses for it that was stabilised if I wanted that. But since I use a tripod and I find it difficult to hold things steady anyway, it doesn't matter. This camera, when I got it new, the only thing I did is I changed that eye cup, and the reason I changed it when I bought it new, there was nothing wrong with the eye cup that was on it, it's the original. But I don't like the idea of that going up against my eye or my face when someone else's eye has been on it. Because if they got some, I call it disease, I don't want to pick it off their eye into mine. My vision's not that good as it is without flipping making things worse. And as you can see, that camera's in good nick, there's no scratches on it. And there's no dust. I've had a look in the screw heads, and there's not even any dust in the cross screw heads. So my suggestion, this has lived its life in a plastic bag in a camera case, or one of those dust-proof boxes. It's obviously not being used. Now this is, as it says on there, 8 million or 8 millimeter, and I want to tell you a little bit of a story about cameras. That I've got cameras 10 meg, and the image size is 6 megapixels. That's the file size. This one, the file size is 5.5 meg. So where's the extra 4 megapixel going? Buying a camera with more pixels on the sensor doesn't necessarily mean it's better than that. I've got cameras that they've got an 80 megapixel sensor and the image is 6 meg, or 6.5 meg I should say. My Nikon 6.5 meg, and that's got an 18 meg sensor in it. Well no, a 16 meg sensor, that's twice that, and the image file is 1 million bigger. You're not going to see the difference. And what people don't realise, a lot of this megapixel with a camera is a bloody con. It's the size of the image you get out of the camera. And most digital SLRs, this is a consumer grade one, or consumer grade cameras, you only get about 5 or 6 meg out of the camera, no matter how big the sensor is. This camera I'm using now is the Nikon 7100, P7100. The image on this P7100 is 6 meg. This one is 5.5 meg. So 8, 9, 10, the 2 megapixel sensor is only giving me 1 megapixel. In fact, it's not giving me that. It's giving me half a megapixel extra resolution of this. So what camera manufacturers were doing is they were saying, look, this year we got a 5 meg DSLR. Next year it's a 6 meg DSLR. you're not going to see any difference. The image size is going to be about, work it out, 250 kilobyte, better than the one of the year before. Okay, maybe half a meg. You're not going to see any difference in a digital camera. To see any difference, you have to double the megapixels, okay, to get any difference at all. So if this was double, the Nikon, this would be a 20 meg. And the image size on this would probably be about 7 megapixels instead of 5. But 2 megapixel different on an image will allow you to crop more, but it's not twice as good. It's a 10 meg, it's only a little bit better. Or the 10 meg, should I say, is a little bit better. The megapixels isn't just about resolution, because resolution isn't just all about megapixels. It's how the camera interpolates the megapixels and how they're used. So you have to realise that when you receive things on the screen, they're generally 2K or 4K. That is much more than 4,000. 4K means 4,000, doesn't it? 4K. Most of the image is being dumped by the software. But because our eyes are not that critical at seeing things from a distance, particularly a television, that's why you have to be away from a TV. You're not going to notice that. If you ever notice that if you go up close to a television, even a high-grade TV, the picture doesn't look that great. It's a bit spotty, a bit misty. But when you stand away from it, the picture's really good. It's because the eyes don't have, they're not very good at resolving images, is say what a camera does. That's why they say a camera never lies. So once you get away from a picture with an imperfection in it, probably this far even, an arm's length, you won't see the imperfection because your eyes can't resolve it. And it's the same with a lot of people. They go out and buy a camera and they say, oh, I got a camera the other day. Oh, it's a 16 megapixel. Oh, I've only got a 10 meg. Your camera must be better than mine then. It's nearly twice as good. No, it's not. And what manufacturers have done is they've been conning people by giving them a megapixel a year extra. All it is to do is to make things dated, so you have to replace it. That's all it is. Like when you get to Windows computers, you have 95, 97. Oh, well, no, they had 95, 98. They put dates on because dates become dated. That's why they're dated. Now they don't bother with that. Now they just call it Windows 10 because people probably got wise to all this dating bollocks and they weren't going to put up with it anymore. And so that's a little bit about me and cameras. This one, as I say, is an E-300 4/3. Later on they bought one that used smaller lenses than that. It was called a micro 4/3. And they're much smaller, much lighter than that. But when I picked this up, the quality of the build on it, I mean this is, they say, was an enthusiast camera but not a professional one. But the weight and the build quality, to get something like that, even a higher grade, would cost you a bloody lot of money. And this one, this body, with that lens, this one was £103 on eBay, and it came with a manual charger and a battery for that. And that lens, the big Bertha, that was £65. The lens, I think that cover was about £12 or something. Might have been more, that lens hood, the lens hood. And also, I got these lens caps because the other ones, they were okay, but one was different to the other, and I'm an Aspie and I'm pussy. So I bought 2 new of these that say 4/3 on them because they match. So I just wanted a pair of matching caps, no reason for it. And it came with the manual, which I've got. And one thing I noticed, this camera will only take 1 GB cards. It won't take any bigger unless it's a micro drive. I bought a load of 2 gig cards for that and it wouldn't read them. So I got 1 gig and I've ordered another 3. And I'm waiting for those to come over the next couple of days. So that's what I'm waiting to come. And also a strap. It didn't come with a strap. I doubt whether a strap was ever attached to it. So I bought an original, well, not an original, a copy, because I couldn't get an original one on eBay. It might be, it says Olympus made in China. It doesn't say for Olympus, actually says Olympus, so that probably is an original then. But I bought a new strap for it. All it does, it takes these batteries, which is the BLM1 I think it's called, and I bought 2 new ones. This is an old one. I'll buy another one, so I got 1 in 2 spares. I don't like second-hand batteries, because even though that camera's not been used, that battery's 12 years old, because the camera is. So it's been sitting around for that long. I could charge that and it could go, well, it could just go bang. It probably won't, but it could. Or shorten the cameras. So I always get new batteries. And one thing about batteries, I always go and get the originals. I don't get the aftermarket ones. I get the ones that are branded. The reason why is if that blows up in my camera, I can say to Olympus, oh hang on, I bought one of your batteries, it blew up my camera, what are you going to do about it? Because if I buy an aftermarket one that's made in China, this one's made in Japan, they say, oh yeah, but that's not the original battery. We don't want to know. So this is one of the reasons why I never buy aftermarket batteries. I always buy the proper batteries, same as my Nikon. This one, I buy Nikon batteries, I don't buy fakes, I only buy the originals. That's why. I never buy pattern batteries ever. Unless it's an ordinary AA torch battery, I won't. And I got the original charger here. And all it was, I got the cards, and they sent me the wrong one. So it's saying CF card on it. It says SD card. They've sent me, I ordered 4, they've sent me 2, but I only got 1 because this one's wrong. So they're going to send me the other 3, and I've got to send that one back in the post, and they're going to pay for that. So that's a little bit about the Olympus, or the OLY-EM-PISS E-300. And some of these older cameras are better built than some of the new. And the camera's made in China. The early ones were made in Japan, but the later ones are made in... This lens is made in China as well, but this lens is made in Japan. It says made in Japan on that, so I don't know. Perhaps they started making them in China, Japan, then moved the production to China because it's bleeding cheaper, really. And then they put their people on benefits and they complain they're on benefits. It's absolutely crazy. Same as happened here, same as what's happening in Japan. They say, you're lazy, you don't have a job. And I said, well, of course I don't have a job, because you farmed everything out to bloody China. That's why there's no work. There's no good keep doing that. You either got to pay benefits or you got to pay wages. You can't do both. They try to do that in this country. Low-paid jobs propped up by benefit, and you've got half the population living in poverty, and they get the blame for it. It's absolutely crazy. It's abuse, and the abusers are blaming the victims. And as I say, the sheep will buy it because they're fickle, because they're not affected. As soon as they're affected, they say, oh, I didn't know that. I said, well, it's only because you weren't affected before. Anyway, politics, that's another thing for another day. As I say, up here I got the charger, and so that's really all there is. So 73, as they say in amateur radio language, means goodbye. And I hope that this video, or as I call it, video, gets watched. And I'm sorry if it's a bit dark and a bit weird. If it gets any darker this summer, because we haven't had a summer, I'm going to need to use a miner's lamp.